Okay, so sorry about that again. As always, welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Wednesday, November 21st, 2018. Hope everyone's having a great pre-Thanksgiving evening. My apologies once again. Solar wind speeds are sitting at 409.9 kilometers per second with a density of 2.1. Taking a look at our sun, we are blank, 0 sunspots. That is now 191 days without sunspots in 2018. 59% without it. Current stretch is now 1 as we've had a pesky little sunspot for a few days now. The TCI is at 40 billion watts, still in that cold region and dropping still. KP indices are now at a 1 with a 24-hour max of 3. And take a look at the SDO. There is a coronal hole that they are expecting possible disruption from this coronal hole with its solar wind speeds on November 26th. Now, as we take a look at the SDO in motion, if we could do that, you know how the live shows go every now and again. All right, excellent. So I guess we're not going to look at SDO in motion today. So let's go ahead and check out SpaceWeather.com. I'm sorry, SpaceWeatherLive.com. And we'll look at the backside of our sun. And it's looking pretty good right now. And I'm being serious when I say that. Because a couple broadcasts ago, I thought we might be seeing evidence of some activity above the equatorial region. And those active regions have fizzled out, but there is that coronal hole that I did talk about that, I do expect to have some sort of issue from. That's this one right here. It's a big arrow. Let's see if we can do something about that. That's a little better. So that coronal hole right there, we're watching it come around now on the eastern limb. And that one I expect to be a little bit more of an active solar disruption as far as solar wind speeds and possible geomagnetic activity. So a G1 storm definitely possible at this point just from what we're seeing here. Taking a look at the TSI for November 13th, 2018, came in at a 1360.65. And we're going to start off tonight on the update so far, what we know on the campfire. Keep up on the stats at least. Campfire update is now up to 81 that have lost their lives and 870 missing as rain spreads across Northern California. It says here this was updated 24 minutes ago. As rain spreads across Northern California on Wednesday, containment of campfire in Butte County is increased to 80%. The number of dead still remain at 81 according to the agency on a morning incident report. The number of missing people in the area stood to 870 with 1,864 accounted for according to Butte County Sheriff's Office. 56 have been tentatively identified of the ones that have passed. Wildfire grew slightly over past day, reaching 153,000 acres now burnt from this fire. As of Tuesday evening, the deadliest, most destructive wildfire in the state history had destroyed over 12,000 homes, more than 4,000 other structures. This is just the one location here, Cal Fire. Establishment said that containment lines are holding. Firefighting crews continue to rehabilitate the fire and try to lessen the impact of the rain. And Caltrans announced Tuesday that the Pacific Coast Highway had been reopened to traffic in both directions, but parts of State Route 70 and 191 were closed still. And here are the alerts for that particular area, Northern California. You see the closures there. More footage in the link below. I'll leave it for you guys. And that's kind of why I have the radar here in your bottom corner here of the screen showing right now what California is going through. Now, obviously this is good for the fire containment and everything, but the concerns are, and I'll get to an article really quick here soon about flash floods and mudslides, but Also, I want to talk about a lot of hype, a lot of sensationalism about toxic rain. And this article, I haven't done a clip from What's Up With That in quite some time, but this one stuck out to me because there is a lot of fear-mongering about it. And that's exactly what it is. And what's a shame is that some of the fear-mongering is coming from local residents there. But it says here, I've been asked to write this because this silly fear-mongering keeps making the rounds on social media. A gentleman named Chris Berry. Please read if you're in a smoke-affected area. Copied and reposted from another source. Figured I should make this clear. Smoke will be cleaning out as a storm system comes in and it rains. This rain will be extremely toxic. It says, do not allow your animals or pets to go out in this rain. Remove all standing water to prevent your pets and other animals from drinking toxic rainwater. If your animals need to go outside, immediately wash the paws. If they are covered in water from rolling in the ground or getting rained on, immediately give them a bath and wash it off. Have a set of outside clothes and change as soon as you get home. I know I've shared countless things for advice and help on the fire. Please scroll through my page as there is more tips and advice for fire victims as well. The sad part is that it's been shared over almost 4,000 times with over 453 reactions and 389 comments. So it's actually getting out. That's the sad part. And Anthony writes here, it has had about the same level of sophistication as that disprove the idea that chemtrails are raining poison on us from the skies. So he's basically comparing this fear-mongering to how fake news chemtrails are. Yes, it's going to rain in the devastated area by the campfire. Yes, it will cause some problems such as flash flooding and ash runoff into creeks. Most of the really toxic smoke from the fire happened during the first 2 days when the structures and vehicles were burning, which had fuel, plastics, household chemicals, and other substances mixed. That smoke has either dissipated from the atmosphere or has already been blown out to sea. It does not remain suspended over the fire area. See the images above of the smoke plume. Almost all the toxic smoke was blown out to the southwest. And let's take a look here. And you can clearly see it. Still a lot of smoke, but we see it moving in the southwest direction. Due to the fact, okay, it says the existing fire line is well outside city limits and burning trees and brush rather than buildings and automobiles. The current smoke we are experiencing is no worse than that you'd get from a wood stove or a fire while you're camping. In other words, except for this point, this is a large fire. Now, due to the fact that the temperature inversion capping smoke in the valley floor the past week finally dissipated yesterday, air quality in Chico's surrounding areas has dramatically improved, now at 147 as of this writing. Even if there was still toxic smoke from the original time remaining in the area, there would be little of it and be precipitated out with the rain. And here is the chart where we are right now. 147 is a level 3, and it's unhealthy still for sensitive groups. But when this all happened last week so fast, we also saw levels above 160. So that was at a level 4. So the current conditions are slightly improving, but they are improving. Even better than forecasts suggest that by the time we get rain, the particles level will be even lower. When the rains come, it won't take long for the particles, smoke particles that is, to be washed out of the air. The air will be clean and safe to breathe. It won't become toxic water, neither acidic or poison. There's just too little pollutants per volume of water to be a health risk. There's no danger from rain after a wildfire, and anyone who says there is doesn't know what they're talking about. Even Snopes agrees. Please share this widely to fight the ignorance and fear. And I can't stress that. I stand with Anthony Watts on this 140%. I've seen people on YouTube and other social media platforms who were pleading for help because of this toxic rain, pleading for help for the toxic smoke that they're still breathing in. when we just presented to you evidence that this fire is no longer burning buildings or homes or vehicles at this point. It's all vegetation. So the fire, the smoke is a lot different. In the beginning, the first couple of days, this is logic. Couple of first days of this fire, of course, it was bad, real bad. That's when we were burning cars and houses and businesses. McDonald's was burnt down to the ground in Paradise. When I saw that image, I thought, okay, this fire really jumped it up a level. So there's already a lot to be, sad about right now in California and fearful. The hurt from the losses and the many that are still missing. And then you want to have added panic to the whole topic right now. Forget about how it started. I respect everyone's ideas, and I don't really particularly care for conspiracy theories, but I like that people are at least exercising their minds a little bit and thinking about things and like, well, why is this and why is that? So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with questioning what, how, and when. But when you're just throwing complete fake news on a situation and trying to make people panic like this, that's different. That's a little bit different. You're allowed to have your opinion. If this man would have just said, I'm concerned that we might get toxic rain, all this toxic smoke, what should we do? Is it safe? Ask the question. But this man was making it a matter of fact. And I'm glad Anthony did this piece. It's part of the reason why I stick with what's up with that is that when they do have articles like this, they're important. This is important. And I hope you guys share this. I have the link in the description. Spread it on Twitter, spread it on Facebook. If you have the ability to share in your community part on your YouTube channel, do that. But, again, there's enough to be worried about with what's coming. And we'll get into that right now as the Watchers wants to talk about it too. All right, that didn't work. Sorry about that, folks. But we start here. Flash flood watches are in effect in Northern California ahead of rain expected to develop along the West Coast Wednesday morning. If you guys look to your bottom right, that is current radar right now. And I can tell you before we went on a few hours ago when I set this up, that rain was not all the way inland at the point. So now it is slowly moving north-northeast, and it's just inundating the California coast with rain all the way into Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. You'll see your share as well. But this is just a continuous stream over the same areas. This also will help air quality alerts expected to remain in effect over parts of Southern California until the fires are extinguished. A deep upper level trough will move onshore over the West Coast early Wednesday, November 21st into Thursday morning, which right now we see it's probably right in its peak. Thanksgiving morning, by the way. Rain will develop along the West Coast Wednesday morning and expand by northern intermountain region, Great Basin by Thanksgiving morning. Flash flood watch for the burn scars is in effect Wednesday afternoon through Friday morning. National Weather Service in Sacramento is claiming ash, mud, and debris flow is possible from the burn scars. There's a marginal, sorry folks, sometimes you have to look at this a little bit differently. Watchers, love you, but man, sometimes the words get a little jumbled here. There is a marginal with embedded slight risk of excessive rainfall over California from Wednesday morning through Thursday morning. As the trough moves inland, the snow levels will lower over the Cascades in the Sierras. Snow will begin over the higher elevations of the Cascades and Sierras by Wednesday afternoon, continuing into Thursday morning. Overnight Wednesday, snow will develop over parts of Northern California and the Southern Cascades. They provide us tropical tidbits, and there is the forecast for the moisture, and wow, we're getting quite a bit here on the West Coast, for sure. Very light for much of the country, but they definitely need it. This area has been dry, and it's like a tale of night and day with these temperatures. But there seems to be indication by, and look, those reds don't mean it's going to be shorts and t-shirts weather here in the east and the northeast. That's just the daily anomaly. And those daily anomalies are just showing us that it's going to be anywhere from 1 to 3 degrees above Celsius. 1 to 3 degrees Celsius above the average temperature for this time of year. So, again, for this area, I know that's going to mean we're going to see lows in the lower 40s. Highs in the lower 40s. And lows in the 20s. But that's not the case here right now, as we are dealing with some really cold air that is coming into the Northeast, but we'll get into that here in a minute. But it's showing the consistency of the dry, warmer air. Now, check out California, guys. The anomaly temperatures are showing a huge cool down at first, but as we get through the end of November, we start to see a little bit more warmth and a little bit of cooling in California through the end of the month. But we will keep our eyes on the situation, and hopefully the reason why we're seeing all that cooling temperatures, not really so much now, end of November into December, but we are also monitoring to see if that also is because of rainfall that we continue to see that's heavy. So interesting to see how the temperatures are going to be affected with this rain. But after the arrival of Wednesday's rain, it's going to be a parade of storms through the weekend as several more waves of moisture and energy swing through, says the Weather Nation meteorologist Mary Matthews. It's important to stay up to date with the changes of this forecast. The timing of this event makes a higher impact as more people frequent the highways and interstate for the holidays. Debris flows, mudslides can shut down the area on the roads quickly, so be sure to plan your routes accordingly. This is serious. This isn't fear-mongering. Excuse me. This is good awareness, and maybe we should have been talking about this a couple of days ago, because it's already Wednesday. Most of the people hit the road already, and some of you are waiting until in the morning. Very good article here, though, and display of what to do in a debris flow. I recommend everyone take a look at this. What is a debris flow? It describes what a debris flow is. It tells us that it's fast-moving, deadly landslides consisting of loose mud, sand, soil, rock, and water and air. Interesting to add all of those elements. They occur over recent several-year-old wildfire burn scars. So, recent to several years old. It doesn't matter how old or new these scars are. So we'll leave the link in the description, guys. Very good information from the National Weather Service for prep on this possibility of landslides. They're expecting anywhere from 1/4 of an inch to 1.5 inches in a short period of time. And with all the lack of rain and the fires that we have, there will be ash and mud for sure. So we'll keep our eyes on that as this storm progresses out here on the West Coast. But as you guys can see on the West Coast, the moisture is not done there yet. And taking us across the pond over in Italy, you know, we're talking about a lot of snow in northern Italy. Now we've got to talk about a tornado outbreak that hit southern Italy, destroying roofs and injuring people. At least 3 tornadoes formed in southern Italy. So this is considered an outbreak, I guess, but for this time of year, I guess it should be. At least 3 tornadoes formed in the southern Italy on November 20th, bringing the total of annual count to 45. One of the tornadoes swept through a residential area in province of Crotone, destroying roofs of homes, businesses, and injuring people. A large waterspout formed around 1420 CET, November 20th, near the commercial port of Salerno and Campania, and soon touched ground. The vortex could be seen a few kilometers away. There was no infrastructural damage, though some containers were knocked over at the port. And we'll take a look at the pictures here. This waterspout is absolutely tremendous. 2 more large and damaging twisters were reported in the region. One of them hit Torresano, Lis, while another swept through Rocca Bernarda and Cutro, Crotone, destroying roofs of homes and businesses, shattering windows of a train, resulting in injuries among passengers. This brings the annual count to 45, as we mentioned already. Tornadoes in Italia writes on their Facebook page, 22 of those events were waterspouts that made landfall. 144 other waterspouts did not reach land, so a total of 166 land spots. This 45 is a remarkable number if you consider that we've recorded only 104 events from 2014 to 2017, so an average of 26 a year. They just doubled their yearly average this season. So that's truly incredible. And unfortunate as well. Tons of footage here to look at, folks, here at the Watchers. I advise you to take a look at this stuff. Sometimes we show the videos and we get in a little bit of trouble, so we don't even bother most of the time. But I'll leave the link in the description so you guys can check it out. Shift the gears a little bit. Let's talk about cold weather. The coldest Thanksgiving in our country in over a century. Tranquil weather will accompany most Americans heading to the loved one's dinner table for Thanksgiving, but they might feel a little heartburn on the return trip home Saturday and Sunday given the traffic congestion and dicey conditions in the forecast. And if you plan on playing the traditional touch football in New York Central Park, you might need a parka. Here's the forecast for Thanksgiving. Rain on the west coast, high pressure across the plains and the Rockies, sunshine, cooler temps, below freezing temps in the northern plains and the Midwest, about average temperatures for now, but the Northeast is also about to receive some cold weather. Northeast, this clipper will bring some snow across the interior Northeast, which that happened earlier, a quick burst of about an inch or two. Not in all areas, but it has dropped the temperatures as we have continued through the evening tonight, the beginning of the evening, I should say. West Coast will be, what happened here? The snow has invaded my screen. That's weird. Okay, so that's how bad it is, guys. The snow is now on the internet, and it's just taking over everywhere. See if I can refresh this real quick. Odd. Thank you. But yeah, so Thanksgiving Day, that high pressure that was in the northern plains that had the sub-zero temperatures is moving across the Northeast. We are looking at record lows tomorrow morning. Where I'm at tonight, we are forecasted to drop down to 3 degrees Fahrenheit. 3. It's going to smash a 100-year-old record. I do know that. It was set back in early 1900, but the record was 5 degrees, and some are even saying we could get as low as 1. In the Northeast, it's going to be brutally cold. In Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Washington are all likely to see their coldest Thanksgiving morning in nearly a century. New York may even see its coldest low temperature for the holiday since weather records have been kept in Central Park in 1901 and 1876. The low got down to 19 degrees Fahrenheit on Thanksgiving Day. The low Thursday now forecasting to be at 17, right before its sunrise. Wow. Gusty winds of up to 30 miles an hour will lead wind chills in the single digits for the Macy's Day Parade. Yeah. Boston won't escape the big chill either. It hasn't been forecast to be this cold on Thanksgiving since 1901 and 1872. Imagine that. Both of those years, the temperature got down to 19 degrees. The wind chill will make it feel even colder. Boston will struggle to make it to 20 on Thursday, with wind chills being 5 to 10 degrees below zero. Wind chill advisories already posted for parts of upstate New York and New England, with Thanksgiving shaping up to be the coldest on record for many in the region. Southeast region will also see below average temperatures, but nothing unreasonable. There will be some cloud cover or even some showers along the Gulf Coast across Florida. Midsection, the plains and the Midwest will remain blustery. Some cloud cover will begin to move east throughout the day for the plains. And the west is going to be just continuous rain spreads down the coast, Los Angeles, and snow settles into the mountains west. It's a welcome sign if you're expecting to do a little Thanksgiving skiing. I'll leave the link in the description, and I usually don't like to... Here's Saturday. Boy, that looks like fun. Icy conditions in western Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, possibly spreading into Pittsburgh as well. Keep our eye on that storm on Saturday, and it looks like it's going to stay mostly a rain event for most of us in the Northeast, but look at all this cold air behind it, guys. The high pressure, we got 2 cold fronts coming through in, and you know, I'm doing the CNN theme because I think it's funny. Like, there's so much information here about the cold, and we've already kind of started pointing out how a lot of mainstream here lately is not denying the cold. The only people that are denying the cold right now is NOAA. NOAA still posting stories about how our ski resorts are going to be declined this year, and I just laughed. But here's a guy that I want to direct people to on Twitter, as long as you're on Twitter. Not only does Starman do a wonderful job, but this guy here, Judica. And this is the guy I kind of leaned on last year for the cold weather outlooks. the snow. And this year, along with last year, he's been right. And I don't know if you guys remember a few days ago on one of our last programs, I had mentioned in the GFS model that it looks like it's possible that we could see a nor'easter in the first week of December. And today, just 11 hours ago, actually about 13 hours ago, says here, as I look today's weather plots, not too much jumps out at me. All pretty bland, but keeping an eye on expansion for snow across Eurasia, followed up by a buildup of extreme cold in Siberia and the possible threat of a nor'easter beginning of December with an AO positive trend. I don't know if my guess that I had was because of just from watching him and learning from him, and you know, but nevertheless, there was more I wanted to show with this man here, not just that one tweet. He's got a bunch here, and I want to go over these really quick, if I may. Boy, Mara, I'm getting a lot of weird things with the internet tonight.
Oh, we are always getting messed with, Jake. I don't know. I'm having...
It's weird.
I'm doing okay over here so far.
It's not letting me go and look at his tweets or anything.
I don't know. Might have to do a software update.
It's crazy. All right, so that kind of blows because I had quite a bit of stuff here I wanted to kind of talk about with Mr. Cohen. Excellent source for polar vortex disruptions, but I think my combination, my go-to people are Starman and Judah Cohen, as I correlate those two guys when it comes to polar vortex disruptions and other weather events. Judah was right a lot last year, and right now he is starting off everything that he said has kind of happened. Starman as well. He's talked about the cold shots that we were going to get around Thanksgiving and once again at the end of the month, and those appear to be happening as well. Judah's on that page as well. But interesting how the polar vortex is going to shape up for us this year, and indications from other GSM sources that possibly are saying that the United States is going to see the worst of the winter conditions this year than like last year. It was all Europe. It seemed like Europe got these tremendous dumps. We also saw our share of snow last year, no doubt, but there was some amazing snowfall footage from over the pond almost every day in that region. So consensus out there kind of talking about how they think it could be shifting a little bit this year to where the U.S. will be in that colder trend this winter than it was last winter, and getting more of the wintry conditions. Let's see, what else we got? Oh yeah, a little more. I know this isn't really like super huge, but we're starting to see more of these stories on the internet popping up about long-range weather warning, Earth set for a cold streak as sun goes blank. A couple things that I got from this article. First of all, it's up to date. They talk about how we're at 191 days for without sunspots 59% of the year. They talk about solar minimums and how it gives off less heat and more heat, and why that happens when it happens. The sun is not expected to head into solar minimum around 2020, and if it's heading in an early one, it will mean a prolonged cold snap. The last time there was a prolonged solar minimum, it led to a mini ice age, scientifically known as the Maunder minimum, which lasted for 70 years. So I'm getting the sense right here that these guys are also implying, and this is what I've been telling folks who ask about, well, we're not in the grand solar minimum now, so why is this even relevant? Well, this little part here kind of confirms what I'm saying. The last time that there was a prolonged solar minimum, it led to a mini ice age, scientifically known as the Maunder minimum. Now, the reason why that's important is that they're saying that our minimum should be starting around 2020. We are clearly in a minimum right now. So that means they expect this minimum to be a little bit longer than usual, which is a precursor for these scientists and other people alike who write for this this website. They're putting the dots together, and they're saying that just because this isn't the grand minimum doesn't mean we're out of the woods. This is the precursor. This current solar cycle that we're heading into, if things continue to go the way they're going right now, we're being set up for the grand solar minimum. And eventually, the conditions are bad now in most places. Think about what it's going to be like in 2030. So I just thought this article kind of pointed out a little bit more of a precursor that this solar minimum right now that we're facing is also a precursor to what they think as well, the next grand solar minimum coming up after this cycle. And I'm talking about once we complete solar cycle 25. Let's be clear. It doesn't mean that we're not going to have struggles with crops and weather events and natural disasters that occur from these things. All volcanoes are still expected to go. Same with earthquake activity, supposed to stay the same, increasing. I'm just saying the actual grand solar minimum itself will begin, and this 24 into 25 solar cycles are the precursor to indicate that we could see multiple decades without sunspots from 2030 and beyond. That's all I'm saying, and I hope a lot of you understand my position. It doesn't mean I'm debunking the grand solar minimum. I'm just saying the conditions that we have right now are worse than what we've ever seen, and they're continuing to deteriorate as far as minimum conditions go. 24 was one of the deepest minimums we've seen in 150 years. In solar cycle 24, when we were the minimum in 2009. So, we'll wait and see, just like we've all said. Zarkov has said it as well. But I really think the closer and the more data that we're getting right now, I think we're really starting to put these forecasts together a little bit better. And it's coming clear now. We're still going to see some colder weather. Those temperatures are going to decline. And with that, we can expect issues with our crops now. And not to be a little fiery about this, but as many of you are right now, you're preparing for your Thanksgiving dinners tonight and tomorrow. And some of the things that Mari and I noticed, potatoes, how skimpy they were. They're getting smaller, in my opinion. And I know Mari, when she shops, she'd probably grab the biggest bag that she could find with the best looking size. And these potatoes are pretty small. So we're starting to see evidence of produce coming in looking a little bit more puny. I know every time we go to the grocery store, the bag of apples look like you're used to buying the red apples, and then there's a lot of yellow, there's a lot of red. They look a little bruised, they're a little smaller. That is starting to happen now. So if it's happening now with the conditions continuing to deteriorate, I mean, imagine where we're going to be at 10 years from now. And it's all natural. And the reason why I keep mentioning this is that it's crucial that we learn skills to adapt to this, or people aren't going to survive it. Growing indoors is a great idea. Raising your own livestock is another good idea. But I know there's a lot of regulation out there that the government doesn't allow you to be self-reliant, but it's still not a bad idea. I don't think we have a soft landing. Like, we don't have like 10 years to like get ready for it. We need to be ready for it now. We need to start putting the plan in motion now. So, again, take it how you want when it comes to the debate on, are we in a grand minimum? Are we going to a grand minimum? Some people think that even cycle 27 might be the indication of a new grand minimum. I have another gentleman overseas who contacted me a month ago, and he doesn't think we're going to see a grand minimum until our 2090s. Again, everyone's entitled to their own theories. Let's just put the evidence out there and wait and see. I believe that we are 10 years away from the actual grand minimum. That's my honest opinion. But anyway, let's take a look at this article real quick. Mr. Obama. How many of you guys miss this guy? Huh? Nobody? Good. Because Obama blames slow climate change process on confused, blind, shrouded with hate Americans. And this little article here, Zero Hedge, has got him quoted. It says, during an hour-long discussion with author Dave Eggers at the Obama Foundation Summit in Chicago, former President Obama, let's just call him Barry, former President Barry opined on ways to mobilize Americans towards creating social change. Good stuff, right? While the entire session was a thinly veiled attack on the current administration and anyone who voted for it. As Caribbean Tom's Elliott notes, when the topic of global warming came up, Obama's criticism was particularly pointed. And Obama begins with somewhat of off-the-rail comments around the 2900 mark in the video here. And, you know, I think it'd be easier just to play it. Let's get to the 29-minute mark though first. Should have been ready, guys.
And so, if that's the case, then why we can't get our act together today, and our children suffer for it. Those are the things that block us. I mean, there are few exceptions. Climate change, we're going to have to come up with some new technologies to solve the problem as much as we need to. Although even on something like that, right now I could take off-the-shelf existing technologies. We can reduce carbon emissions by, let's say, 30%. Without any, you know, it's not like we'd all have to go back to caves and, you know, live off, you know, fire.
What is this guy talking about? He can take technology off the shelves now and reduce the carbon emissions by 30%. That's amazing. That's just wow. I mean, why is it called the Paris Treaty Accord? It should be called the Berry Treaty Accord. I mean, 30%. Jeez, why are we wasting time watching this video? Let's get this guy back out there, right?
We could have electricity and smartphones and
all that
stuff.
He's reassuring we'll still have electricity and smartphones, but I've got a plan to reduce emissions by 30%.
Which would buy us probably another 20, 30 years for that technological breakthrough that's necessary. The reason we don't do it is because we are still confused, blind, shrouded with hate, anger, racism, mommy issues.
Okay. He's talking about you guys. He's calling you guys. You're filled with hate. You're racist. You're blind. You're angry. And you have mommy issues. These are all attacks towards these so-called climate deniers. In actuality, we're just man-made climate deniers. So I love how Obama wants to throw shade at this particular crowd of people. And, you know, he talks about how we need to learn how to work together, but yet he is attacking people that don't believe in his way of thinking when it comes to science and climate change. I'm glad this guy's gone. I can't believe he lasted 8 years. You know, when you see all the EPA regulations he had, it's more red tape than the state of New York. And this is just another clear evidence of a former politician who has nothing better to do. He's bored. He's rambling here. He's blaming the Trump administration and Trump supporters and saying it's all our fault that we're still burning man-made emissions and all this other crap. But yet, here we are talking about November being Snowvember to remember. Coldest temps in Thanksgiving in some areas for more than a century. Lots of areas will be cold Thanksgiving in the east, the northeast. So let's wrap it up. Wednesday we had, last week we had Weather Channel talking about us being cold for this winter because of where we are in the solar cycle. CNN has been blabbing their mouth about cold weather since that day, and I find it funny that we haven't heard anything about climate change from the mainstream, really, in the last few days, especially since that Weather Channel article came out. We're seeing people like Jerry Brown in an interview on Face the Nation this past Sunday, where he told everyone that the factors are forest mismanagement and natural cycles. He did not mention man-made climate. He said climate change, but he did not blame carbon emissions. I thought there was a very cryptic message in there from Brown. And I'm not giving him any credit. I'm not trying to boost him. I'm just saying there was a very cryptic message. He is now leaving the state. He's not going to be the governor anymore. Okay? Now he can tell the truth. because his political career is over. He doesn't have to worry about upholding a reputation or being held accountable for the blatant, fraudulent comments that he's made about the climate and who's in charge and whose fault it is. It's funny that he talks about mommy issues, and he pauses at the end of that. Mr. Obama does. He pauses instead of saying daddy issues, because he's got daddy issues. And it's funny, they write down here, Obama, who famously wrote an entire autobiography called Dreams from My Father as a means to work through his lifelong daddy issues, is certain we can solve all the world's problems, climate change, education, agricultural, and so on, quite easily because they are not nearly as complicated as they are made out to be. The reason we don't do it, Obama explained, is because we are still confused, blind, shrouded with hate, anger, racism, and mommy issues. Mommy issues. That's just weird. Never heard of mommy issues. So, anyway, I guess they exist. If there's daddy issues, there's mommy issues too. But what a weird guy. Just a weird guy overall. Talks about, I can lower carbon emissions by 30%. There's technology, blah, blah, blah. But he doesn't give you an idea on how he could do that. Or he doesn't even lay out a foundation to how he can do that. It's common from this side. It's common from the AGW, where they just blurt out explosive remarks with no proof. Hey, Noah's got a big problem with Mari and myself. We're getting trolled heavily on the Facebook page. Bad. Mari more so than me now. I don't know what it is. These big bad climate change guys, they're all men, and they like to harass women online. They don't want to mess with me, but they always mess with Mari. And I find it hilarious. Like, she's weak-minded. I don't think they realize. I'm pretty sure Mari would be the first one that would probably just sock one of them in the face if we ever met him in real life. So they're really messing with the wrong woman. But I just find it funny that people at NOAA are now trolling Mari and ourselves, acting like as if we're just making these statements about cooling trend as if we're just pulling them out of our ass, when we're quoting things from NASA and Zarkova and other sources, the Weather Channel. The answers we get back are so canned and, you know, deflecting all responsibility whatsoever. So I'm concerned that the big top dog Weather Association is still in denial about what's happening. They're holding on to that El Nino 80% chance, and they're holding on to that we're going to be warm this winter, but yet you got the Weather Channel, which up until now, you know, I despise them because of their man-made global methods they were pushing on people. But they're actually telling the truth because of what NASA said, because of what they're seeing. Their own meteorologists are saying, guys, this is not right. There's something weird about this. There's might be a flaw here. There might be something to this whole natural cycles and all this other stuff. And you know, and I think Weather Channel made that decision to go public with their thinking now, and that's because there is a ton of evidence that correlates lack of sunspots to global temps. Point blank. That's why I started the Twitter hashtag Dr. Strong is wrong. And he continues to be wrong. Let's take a look at some temperatures. Sea surface, Atlantic, let's refresh that. Going up just a little bit. Still below baseline, but North Atlantic has definitely been on a weird trend. It's been going up, up, and away. We'll watch to see how much more it's going to grow. It's not what I want. Neither is that. The El Nino, please. Well then. All these wonderful glitches tonight. I just love it. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the El Nino because I thought I had that already. Mari, you want to come over here and say hi while I'm bringing up this particular... I'm just going to go over some of the ocean temps and the weather before I sign off tonight. It's not going to be nothing too crazy long.
Things were pretty wonky tonight technologically. You know, it's one of those fluky things with being live. Hello, everyone in the chat. I think people get a kick out of us getting trolled by Noah.
I get a kick out of it.
My notifications keep on going off. They like tag my name and they're like, look at this study and the troposphere is rising, and then you ask him about Roy Spencer and they just want to mention that it's on a blog. Yeah, they're just like, oh, Dr. Roy Spencer, that's not a real source. It's just a blog. The data, you know, and you mention the data, Well, actually, they say the data is not flawed, but then we explain where the instruments came from and how it was measured, and they could take the raw data and compile it themselves. They actually flipped the books today on us. They told me to take the raw data and figure out the information myself. And I said, well, how can I work with flawed data? Because it's like a spin central.
Yeah.
They say that Roy Spencer's data is raw, but his satellite data that he's using is actually more solid than these stupid weather stations that they have on the ground and on like hot tarmac roofs. And
Yeah, they're all on roofs. They're all on airport runways. So
that's it, Jake.
no shout outs tonight.
Hello everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
It's been a long day for Miss Mari,
I've
so
been cooking like crazy.
I'll leave her off the hook here.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll go back. I did find the Nino, thankfully, and guys, you see, it's just cruising right along at the threshold. So nothing really crazy about. Again, 80% is a strong prediction. Now, I'll give Noah a little credit. Since September 27th, we've seen this hold up now, and it's now reaching 60 days of the 0.5 threshold or higher. So, once we get to December 21st, and we're still looking at this, we should see a rise in the Pacific, with temperatures almost peaking out at 1.5 degrees Celsius above baseline. Up to, but it should maintain at 0.5 and above. That's the normal. So we'll really have to see where this is in December and January. I just don't see how they have the confidence to say 80%. I'm not seeing it. And here's temperatures in that region, guys. Look at this. We see more 28s and 27s than we sure have in the past several days. That looks like it's cooling off to me. So this Modaki El Nino that could be the possibility is going to cause problems too, guys, especially in California, Arizona, parts of Nevada. You got dry spells that should occur during this period of time. Also with that will run another fire risk again. But cold weather in the northeast and the eastern part of the country. And right now, we're seeing those conditions in the south. We've seen snow in the far south, Texas, Louisiana. Seeing cold temperatures in the northeast. We're seeing February temperatures here tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night as well. Take a look at our ice extent. It is growing. We are now at 10,000,105 millions of square kilometers. Or millions square kilometers, I should say. So we keep closing that gap. This time, this line that everybody likes to shove in my face, we're still trailing that that gap. We're still 1,000,000 square kilometers below where we should be to stay with this average. But if you look at the rapid growth of, oops, that's the wrong one. If you look at the rapid growth, though, of this particular area since the last few weeks. So I'm really glad that guy was trying to be a wise ass and, you know, thought that I was trying to be not truthful about the sea ice. And I can tell you that this gap continues to close rapidly every day. And you can see it here as you see the shaded area, and then all of a sudden you start to see the light widening out. So this is also an indication of rapid growth right in this region over these last few days. Let's take a look at the sea ice real quick. We always give you a nice little photo update. I like this website here, the National Snow and Ice Data Center. Taking a look at November 20th, sea ice extent. Look at this, guys. Wow. Let's move that up a little bit. Take a look right in this region right here. We are seeing some definite growth right in this area. This is well past that mean average of ice, and it's November. This is also filling up in an area. And by the way, folks, we had a warming anomaly along the eastern part of Greenland where it got temperatures above, I believe they said 15 degrees Celsius above average in this region for a couple of days. So to see that we didn't lose hardly anything during that little anomaly that we had for a couple of days. Look at that. It's almost filled out to the edges all over, guys. It's exceeding going into Canada. That's because of all the cold air that we've seen already this year. So the sea ice looks like it's in pretty good shape, if you ask me. I could be wrong, but looks pretty consistent there for me. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the GFS as the next couple days roll out. The main focus, as I'm showing tonight on my broadcast, is going to be California. Sorry about that. I've kept the radar in the pretty much in the fold the entire program because of just the concern of mudslides and everything else that we can get from these heavy rains after a sudden fire like this. So take a look at the high pressure. That's the other polar vortex burst that we're getting right now. Temperatures in the single digits, wind chills below zero. The northwest is getting your share of snow and rain as well, but this will move off. High pressure will dominate the east coast, and the west and the northwest will definitely be dominated with moisture, with rain on the coast, snow in the inlands and the mountain areas. And then on Saturday, November 24th, we have a little system trying to get its act together, and it almost combines with another system off the Atlantic, but that one kind of moves far away from land, thankfully, because at first it kind of had the signature that it might possibly turn into something northeasterly. But the warmer air in the northeast is going to save us this weekend from dealing with any more snowfall. In fact, temperature is going to be in the low 40s, and that could be warm enough to melt whatever remaining snow we have. A low pressure system in the middle part of the country is trying to get its act together as the northwest continues to see rain and snow. California, you get a little bit of a break. And then as we move forward to Monday, the 26th, that low pressure system goes across Ohio, bringing rain to the northeast. But on the back end of this, it's cold for snow, so this will change over. But look at Maine. A sudden burst of heavy snow to fall in Maine on November 27th. And the northwest looks like a mess. This is annoying. Look at this. I'm going to focus over on the northwest right now. So Northern California, more rain to your area. That snow hangs around. Now it looks like the GFS here in the northeast the next week is indicating some heavy lake effect snow in the Syracuse, Buffalo region and across the state of New York as a low pressure. This storm, guys, check this out. Wow. So this really goes up a notch. This low pressure system that we see here in Ohio, this thing actually spins back into the U.S. and affects the northeast and then goes out to the Atlantic. I don't know if you guys caught that little low pressure. Follow this low pressure system right here in the Ohio Valley. Watch what it does. Spins up into Canada, heavy snow in Maine, sticks around a little bit, and then winds back around through New York, bringing snow showers with that, and colder air, I might add. And that's at the end of this month. And then you take a look at the northwest, and there's a huge system coming on shore. Lots of snow in the mountainous regions, lots of rain up and down the coast, and there's some heavy rain coming to the majority part of California through the first part of December, the end of November. And then there's another massive storm that's trying to take shape here in the Midwest. Snow across the northern plains. It kind of dissipates out. Another low right behind it for the first week of December on a Monday. More moisture into the west coast. This low pressure system, again, temperatures in the northeast will be cold enough to see snow. There will be rain on the backside of this as a warm front is trying to keep its balance, but the cold air is winning right now. And this is the thinking right now. Look at the storm in the Gulf. You got the northwest, huge system coming in. Now this is a few days out, but this is the first week of December. This is not looking encouraging at all. Northwest with a huge amount of rain and snow coming in. Low pressure system forming something up fierce in the deep south. This might be the nor'easter that Judah Cohen is talking about. He believes there might be a chance of a nor'easter in the first to second week of December. And if I had to guess, I think he's looking at this system, and boy, is the GFS got this bad boy pumped up. You see the dip in the jet stream. So behind it we have another Arctic blast. So any moisture on this back end is going to be snow, and that leaves you in the northeast as this low pressure system continues to exit up the east coast. It's It's going to continue to drag that cold air down with it, and I suspect that we'll be looking at some significant snowfall, but this is well far out. This is December 7th, so we're another 17 days away, but still interesting to see how that's going to play out. As one of the things I was going to show you about Judah Cohen was his accuracy, and he has put up a tweet earlier today talking about polar vortex disruptions, and how he also believes that we have a reasonable shot for a nor'easter in up to the second week of December. Right now, that looks like it's a good possibility as well. So, taking a look at the weather across the pond, more snow for Russia. I mean, it is just continuing and that's another thing that Judah's following. The snowfall spread here in Russia and Eurasia is continuing to grow, as well as the colder temperatures. Lots of rain moving across Spain and France. Let's take a look at some temperatures here by Saturday. Of course, I don't have my arrows. Slowly go in here. Yep. Wow. What a night. This really truly feels like a Monday, guys, not a Wednesday. Temperatures in the 40s and 30s in Paris. London, you're looking at 40s, 32 in Birmingham, which, by the way, Birmingham saw its first snow today. Amsterdam, 36. So a lot like the majority of the weather here in the U.S. in the 30s and 40s. And then we see a bunch of moisture on the 27th going through the U.K. Heads up, my friends over there. And then taking a look into Germany, into Denmark as well. Henrik, watch out, my friend. Looks like you guys are going to see some snow and rain coming into your area. Late month of November. And another wave of moisture to come through the UK as well right before that. Snow in the northern part of Italy, which we already are seeing tons of that right now. And southern Italy, thankfully, hopefully, stays quiet over the next several days as the tornado outbreaks today. The massive flooding that we've seen, the water surge from some of these cyclones that have been forming in these areas, rare storms too. Taking a look at the ocean temperatures, we saw that already, 27s across the board, to 28-degree temperatures. We are on life support, folks, when we're talking about El Nino at this point. Just an opinion. Other than that, here's the GFS snow depth change by the end of this month. And what still stands out to me is how more than 50% of the United States will see snowfall of some shape accumulating. I'd say a good 55 to 60% of the United States is getting snow in the next 15 days. No doubt. Next 10 days. So, lots going on. A lot of stuff to keep up with. A lot of science going on. A lot of science news as well to follow up with. And of course the weather is going to be, it's going to be a wild one I think this year, but I really believe, in my opinion, this is how it's happened so far. What I've been told was going to happen is actually happening. 16 was going to be the beginning of some weird freakish cold snaps. 17 was going to be more snowy or more colder. It was. This year is supposed to be worse. 19 and 20 is supposed to be even worse. So far, everything that I've been told about what's going to happen to our winters here and our summers is happening. Again, we'll do that wait and see thing like we always do. We just report on what's happening around the world. Nobody here is a professional climate predictor, but we do like to use logic and try to connect the dots when it comes to this stuff, because we believe that solar activity is absolutely correlating with our climate, and it's the sun, stupid. That's going to do it for us tonight, guys. Thank you for tuning in once again to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Please check out our Patreon channel as well. We're trying to get that built back up. We want to have that as our backup platform. The gremlins at YouTube continue to eat our notifications and not hand them out to our subscribers. So we want to start growing other platforms as well. Take a visit there as well. Also, in the Discord chat or on our comment section, Mari is going through a rehab phase on our website, thegrandsolarminimum.com. So we're going to have something for you guys, hopefully by the first of the year, but we want some suggestions as well. So tell us what you think you would like to see added on the website, and maybe we can come up with something that makes everyone happy. So with that being said, guys, thank you for tuning in, And I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving. We are tentatively going to be on the air Friday, 10:30. I'm going to be honest with you, it's probably going to be more Saturday night, if at all. Maybe not until Sunday. Crazy week for us here with the holidays and everything. So we'll just have to play it by ear. But I'm sure we will get in touch soon, guys. So take care. Happy Thanksgiving. And we will talk soon.